This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And this week we are watching Black Christmas. On Christmas Eve, an escaped maniac returns to his childhood home, which is now a sorority house, and begins to murder the sorority sisters one by one. Let's watch. I hope this tea leaves a positive taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
You can never tell with chamomile.
What? What do you mean?
So I've had some really shitty chamomile teas. It always adds the sweetness to it, so it's either disgusting and cloying or it's like a really nice, balanced tea.
I've never found chamomile cloying. It's never that sweet.
It's such a sweet tea.
You're over steeping it if that's the case.
I've never steeped tea in my life.
You're doing it. I
don't think I am.
This might be why it's like that.
No, it's actually the tea bag's controlling itself. And
then you're just, it's moving your hand?
Yeah, is actually, it's funny. This tea was called Ouija tea on the packet. So I think I'm beginning to realize why.
I would buy a packet of that tea, if not just because then I could call it Ouija tea.
Ouija. The Ouijas. Do 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 do. Oh, you can tell by the way I sip my tea.
Yeah,
I'm a Ouija board. No time for me.
We're both doing the same bit on the same wavelength.
We're 100% connected. We're here. We're present. Good morning, Michelle. I know it's like 11 a.m., but good morning.
Yeah, we've both been up for hours.
Yeah, but also I'm not a morning person, so really I feel like I've just come out of a long stupor.
Well, I'm normally a morning person, but I didn't sleep very well last night.
Nice. Join the club.
That wasn't meant to be nice.
Genuinely takes me so long to get to sleep. Not a good sleeper.
Well, you know me. Normally I fall asleep pretty quickly, but as I'll get into later in the episode, slasher movies make it very hard for me to get to sleep.
Oh, even bad ones?
Even bad ones. And I literally couldn't get to sleep because I was feeling very upset.
Oh, Eurotrip didn't cleanse your palate?
It almost did. But not enough.
Yeah, I got to show you Eurotrip last night and it was very exciting.
Yeah, that is the podcast announcement though, right? Like,
that's all we got.
I watched Eurotrip because it's already been brought up twice.
I thought you were going to continue that sentence.
Yeah, I thought you were going to join in my revelry.
Yeah, I am.
I liked it.
I'm so glad.
Fuck.
I'm so glad you did. It's very silly. Lots of silly jokes. My highlight was showing you Eurotrip and then playing Skyrim in bed. That was a good night for me.
Yeah, well, watching Eurotrip and then playing Animal Crossing while watching Schitt's Creek.
While hearing Skyrim in the background.
While hearing distant Skyrim. Very comforting. Very comforting. Sweet.
But you still had bad dreams.
Yes, still had bad fretful sleep.
I only have nightmares when I'm stressed. Like I never have scary nightmares either. They're just very mundane, basic nightmares of this person says something mean to me. I forgot to do this. I fucked up this thing at uni. Like it's just really boring, mundane nightmares. And then I wake up very upset.
Well, because a lot of my stress nightmares, which have been a recurring issue of the past always in my life, they're either very like upsetting and violent or what you're describing, which I would say is social gore.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that sort of like upsetting social situation that just leaves you feeling anxious and frustrated. It's social gore.
Is far more scary to me than just regular gore.
Yeah.
I just wake up very flustered and upset. And I think, it carries on to my normal life. I used to have dreams about drowning a lot because I'm so afraid of the ocean. That was never fun. That wasn't a fun time.
I'd always have dreams about my sister drowning.
Ooh.
And then we'd all be really upset. And then I would spend the whole day worried that my sister had drowned.
Oh, yeah. My drowning dreams were like real, like fucking textbook cinema stuff where I'd have a dream about drowning and I'd literally wake up gasping. I'd be like, yeah, it was not fun.
This isn't funny, but it's kind of cathartic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk about trauma. Oh.
What the fuck?
What? I'm a human.
You are, as we've been saying.
We're both humans.
Yeah.
We love that. I love being a human.
My favorite thing about being a human is probably the ability to dream, as I've been saying.
Yeah. Mine is taxes, am I right? So many of them.
Classic human activity.
Yeah, I love taxes.
My favorite thing about being human is when we're not suspicious of our friends.
No, because you wouldn't
trust
be.
them.
Yeah, just trust us.
And
trust them. Sorry, trust them.
My next favorite bit about humans is that we love celebrating the glory of the Varvax. You know? Love that as a human.
You're not anti-vax, are you?
No, exactly.
You're pro-vax.
I'm pro-vax.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be anti-vax.
I mean, I do have, this isn't part of the bit, but I do have that shirt that is literally just vaccines.
You do.
Yeah, I love it.
I always think it's about the band, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
It's not. It is a McElroy Brothers shirt because it's Justin
Right.
and Sydney's podcast Sawbones.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's a dorky medical podcast that is pro-vaccines. It is like a confluence of all of my interests.
It's so weird that you have to state that someone is pro-vaccines or anti-vaccines.
I know. It's one of those things, we didn't need that to be a hot topic.
We are so lucky that we live in a world with vaccines. We're so lucky that we can curb so many illnesses with our advanced medical science that people are outright rejecting.
It's so basic. It feels like being anti-refrigeration.
Yeah.
It's like if someone was like, I prefer to leave my meat rotting on the table. And it's like, well, that's the wrong way to do it. That's worse for you.
It's so wild.
Yeah. It's like, I'm anti-eating shit. Are you pro-eating shit?
Me, personally?
Yeah.
Do I have to answer that question?
Not live if you don't want to. Here, we'll edit this. We'll edit this bit out. Oh, Abigail!
No, yeah, I'm anti-eating shit.
Whoa. That's surprising.
Right? That's the right answer, right?
There is no real right answer, you know?
It's very subjective.
Yeah. It's a case-to-case sort of thing.
I love that you're open-minded.
My mind is open to all sorts of shit.
Except bad slasher films, apparently.
Bad slasher films.
Speaking of...
You got this.
Eating shit. This week we watched Black Christmas. This is the 2006 film, and it is notably a remake of the 1974 film Black Christmas. And then there was another remake in 2019.
Oh, Jesus.
There has been 3 remakes of the same story.
It's still not quite House of Wax level, which is 4 remakes, but 3 is too many. This is not a story that needs to be retold.
Yeah, what new... I mean, obviously both remakes have failed to pull anything more interesting out of it than the first film originally did.
I didn't know it was a remake when we watched it, by the way. I thought it was just a weird, bad slasher.
Yeah, but it's a remake of a very critically hailed slasher film. It's not necessarily a great film, but a lot of critics deem it the first slasher film ever.
Oh, well, I guess you said 74. That is
74.
Like pre that 80s, like that's pre Friday the 13th. That's pre
And again, notably, it's one of the first slasher films. It really cemented what the genre was going to be. Like, if you want like the epitome of an old school slasher film, you go to Black Christmas 1974.
Yeah. My reaction to this movie is like doing this podcast, especially around the time we were doing Paranormal Activity. It's taught me a lot about horror and my feelings towards it. Because I very boldly announced I don't like horror movies because I'm a big baby.
This is only our 3rd horror film.
I know.
And I wouldn't even deem Paranormal Activity to be horror.
No, but then outside of that, Brooke showed me The Thing and we all watched Hereditary. Like, I've watched other horror movies recently because I announced I don't like horror movies, I'm a big baby, right? I've discovered from watching these movies and other horror movies, I don't mind horror movies. I actually like a lot of the horror movies I've watched. I really liked The Thing. Alien's one of my favorite movies. I really liked the second half of Hereditary. The first half just made me want to vomit with grief. Like, it was so upsetting. What I really don't like is bad slasher movies. I can't stand it. It embeds just upsetting images into my brain.
We've already talked about this, but like slasher films is a horror film without any real it leans on the gore
Yes.
element, so it doesn't have to have a very good storyline. It doesn't have to have great performances. A lot of the things that we enjoy about movies. And I was thinking yesterday, sorry, because I haven't had any thoughts today. It is 11 a.m. I was on a walk yesterday and I was thinking about how people value different things in films, because this person recommended The Devils to me by Ken Russell, which is a 1972 film, so 1971 film. And it's very like abstract, and it's also very gory, and it's all about like perversion within religion as well. And it's like, it seems like it's a very experimental film, and I can see why some people would love shit like that. But I am focused on story. I want a satisfying story, and I want a satisfying transition for a character. I want a journey for a character. And a lot of the time, experimental films don't give me that. So I don't get anything out of them. It doesn't mean they're a lesser film. They're just a film I don't enjoy as much. And a lot of slasher films were kind of bred out of that experimental cinema as well, where they don't need story. They just need this really visually shocking thing that compels people to keep watching it. And that's just not for me.
It's not for me either. It is literally like bad, little to no storytelling interspersed with random acts of hyperviolence.
Yeah.
Right? And I've realized it's not that they're scary, right? 'Cause The Thing is arguably more scary and more violent, but there's more grounded storytelling, and also the violence itself is like a step removed from reality, so I can kind of like it. That's why I like the second half of Hereditary. Once it was spooky shit and not real trauma, I was like, I'm into this. But as a slasher movie, it's not scary. It's just upsetting. That's why it gets me. I get anxious, and then I just keep thinking about it, and like, I'm not scared by it. It's just upsets me.
I think a lot of interesting parts of a slasher film can also come from like tension and suspense that are in a lot of standard horror films. Like Hitchcock is obviously the master of suspense. So a lot of his horror films are really highly revered because of the way that he uses suspension and tension. But a lot of slasher films don't need to lean on that.
Yeah.
They don't do that very much. And if they do pull that suspense out, it's then met with this incredible violence that doesn't seem earned. It's just...
Yeah.
Aside from how shitty slasher films are, the first Black Christmas is something I might be interested in seeing, just because I want to see that film that cemented this genre. But this was a shitty remake. This was 2006, just some general information about it.
Yeah.
It was directed by Glen Morgan, and Glen Morgan was part of the Final Destination series.
Oh, see, that's the same thing I'm talking about. I was never interested because those are movies where nothing happens and then people randomly die in violent means, and it upsets me. That's
where he got his grounding. So it was directed by this dude, and he was really inspired by Bob Clark, who was the original director of Black Christmas. So he was really excited for this project.
That's probably a good inspiration if you're going to do a remake of one of his movies.
Yeah. But obviously this film is shocking. This is exactly what a slasher film shouldn't be. But it's got a good cast of characters. Good cast of characters.
Some of them were.
Such as? Who was?
Oh, I thought you were going to come back.
Nah, I'm gone.
Some of them were. I thought Michelle Trachtenberg and the older sister who comes in were good. And I thought the sorority house mother was good.
Andrea Martin.
Yeah, I thought they were good.
So, fun fact, by the way, the woman that plays the older sister that comes in, who we'll get into in a moment because I'll do the overview, but an older sister comes into the sorority house, and that actress is married to Glen Morgan, the director.
Oh.
Yeah, and also the woman who plays the house mother of the sorority house, Andrea Martin, she was in the original Black Christmas as one of the sorority girls.
Oh, okay, that's kind of fun then.
Yeah, and she's also notably, I think, the main character's aunt in Big Fat Greek Wedding, and she's very charming and memorable in that. She's great. I love her.
Yeah. As I joked while we're watching it, the older sister is clearly, like, they always cast older sisters by having someone look similar but with a wider jaw.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they do it.
Yeah. I'll get into the overview now.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a very good overview, but it's because it's a slasher film, and a lot of it is just, then this person dies, then that person dies.
It's not very much plot. It's also got a weird structure.
Well, I think it's all plot is the problem. It's just this person dies and then that person dies. It's just bad plot. So Billy Lenz, here's the backstory to it before I get into the actual plot of the film. Billy Lenz is a boy born with severe jaundice. He watches his mother and her lover murder his father at a young age and is later raped by his mother, who is keen to have another child. Not long after his sister/daughter Agnes is born, Billy exacts revenge on his family, killing his mother and stepfather. He's quickly arrested and placed into psychiatric care after he's found eating cookies made out of his mother's back fat, honestly. 15 years later, this is where the story begins, on Christmas Eve. Billy, now 36, escapes from his cell after being arrested as a child, and he heads back to his former home, now a sorority house outside of Boston. At the house, Claire, one of the sorority girls, is murdered in her bedroom by an unknown figure. Meanwhile, Megan begins to hear noises and goes up to the attic to investigate. Upon finding Claire's corpse, Megan is attacked and killed by the same assailant. In the living room, the other sorority sisters, and their names are Kelly, Melissa, Heather, Dana, and Lauren, along with their house mother, Mrs. Mack. It's a lot of names. The 7 girls receive a threatening call from the killer. Claire's half-sister, Lee, soon arrives searching for Claire. Kelly's boyfriend, Kyle, arrives as well, but he's kicked out when Kelly discovers he has a sex video with the other housemate, Megan, which really doesn't matter in the end.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't contribute anything.
When the power goes out, Dana goes under the house but encounters the figure in the crawl space and is killed. The remaining girls soon find Dana and Eve's bodies outside. With the police unable to arrive in time due to a snowstorm, the girls decide to stay in the house while Heather and Mrs. Mack try to flee. In the car, Heather is murdered and Mrs. Mack is impaled by a falling icicle. While Kelly and Lee descend to the garage to investigate, Melissa is attacked and killed by the assailant via an ice skate to the head. Kelly and Lee return upstairs and find Lauren's eyeless corpse. Kyle comes back to the house and the 3 go to investigate the attic. Kyle is dragged into the attic to his death by the assailant, who is revealed to be Agnes, now an adult. Now, with only Lee and Kelly alive, after a struggle in the crawl space, they start a fire and escape, leaving Agnes and Billy to burn. Later, as Kelly and Lee recover at the hospital, Billy, who is partially burned, kills the morgue assistant. While Kelly goes for an x-ray, Agnes appears in her hospital room and kills Lee. When Kelly returns to her room, Agnes attacks her, but Kelly uses a defibrillator to kill Agnes. Billy chases Kelly to the stairwell, ending with Kelly pushing Billy off the railing, where he is subsequently impaled at the tip of a Christmas tree. That is the film. It's all just this person kills this person.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you watch it, you're not really watching any plot unfold.
No.
Apart from the, like, backstory of Billy, which is all it's trauma porn. And then they just consecutively start dying. There's the one scene, right, where they start to make a plan because they find Eve's dead body outside.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the best scene.
Without a doubt.
I've actually been talking about this. So right now I'm watching an action film, and a lot of the time I feel like I'm struggling with the scene where they're all standing around making a plan because there isn't enough happening. But I love those scenes in movies where they're like, well, that just went down. Now we all need to figure out what to do. But there's a power struggle. You find out people's characters and motivations and what they want, and it conflicts with each other. I love characters trying to figure out what to do next in front of us. I love that.
I love that as well, because what tends to happen is that one of them will bring up an obstacle, another will bring up a solution, and another will bring up another obstacle. It's them preempting you, the audience, outthinking them.
It's not even a solution, it's a new goal. They're like, well, I want to do this. Well, we'd have to do that. And someone else says, no, that's an issue. We'd have to do this thing. And then they're like, no, that's an issue. We'd have to go there. That's a well-configured scene. Look, this film didn't really nail that, but it was still fun for a character to be like, we should stay here. And another character saying, fuck you, my sister, like, this is a personal emotional motivation. I want to find out if my sister's alive. I'm not leaving. Another girl saying we need to get out of here because I'm too scared and I can drive us.
Yeah.
Another girl saying that she thinks that they're safer in the house. All these, like, conflicting things are really fun to watch.
Yeah.
That was the best scene of the whole movie, was when no one was dying and they were just talking.
Not even a question. It was the best scene without a doubt. Like, it just... it worked. It also contained something I was very surprised to see, which was maybe one of the first times I've seen in a horror movie a realistic reaction to finding a dead body.
When Michelle just went, holy fuck!
Yeah, that's it!
That's how you would react, right? It wouldn't be like, no, or ah! It'd be like, go, holy shit!
Yeah, you'd be fucking startled as hell.
Yeah. There was a couple of pretty realistic reactions, which I enjoyed in it, which was nice.
It does do, especially in the first half, something that I really hate in horror movies. This did it, Paranormal Activity did it, which is characters are acting as if they're already in a horror movie, right? Which is where, like, something happens and they go...
True. Before anything had kicked off, she hears that snow globe going off in the attic and she's like, what is that? And she's super spooked by it.
Walking there slowly. Yeah. It's like, if I heard a noise on the roof, I'd be like, that's weird.
Yeah. You'd be like listening to a podcast like in the middle of cleaning, and then you'd go up and investigate it and be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. We hear all the time, like, either workers or squirrels on our roof.
Or cats. Sometimes there's been a cat in the skylight, which excites me. You can see their little toe beams on the skylight. So fat. So chunky.
If we were in a horror movie, we'd be sitting on the couch and then there'd be like an POV shot from the roof and we'd go, and then look up at it. It's like we wouldn't react like that. We'd just be like, oh, whatever.
I will say last night, Brooke was just doing her own thing in her room while we were watching Eurotrip, and I heard a clunk and I went, what is that? What was that? And you're like, it's Brooke.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're just an anxious, panicked person like I often am, I think I'd be suitable for a horror film.
I feel like
I'd be the perfect protagonist.
Yeah. Well, it needs to go one of two ways, right? Either people act like people where they don't know they're in a horror movie and they react to things normally, but then they get scared when a thing happens. Or you do what happens in The Thing, which I keep going back to because I really fucking loved it, where they go, oh shit, here's clear evidence of a big alien problem. Let's deal with it right fucking now. Like the first act isn't the discovery of a body and going, who did this? It is, oh, there's an alien and we think we killed it and we're totally gonna lock this shit down. Perfect.
Also, I will say, if I was in a horror film, I would be the Megan character where I get killed off. Maybe not first, but probably second. Same as like a zombie apocalypse. I don't think I'd die on the first day, but I would sacrifice myself on the second day, knowing what the future of my now life would be.
Right.
I would throw myself into a crowd of zombies, sacrificing myself for my group, saying, go ahead, as they rip me apart, but my arms are open, Jesus style, because I'm a god. That would be me in a zombie apocalypse. You would be the survivor.
Thank you.
100%. I would like sacrifice myself. Like, I'm out. I'm tapping out. I don't want to be here anymore. But you'd make it work.
Thanks.
I believe in you. I think if you were in a horror film, you'd probably also be one of the characters that if you didn't make it till the end, you'd be like that Lee character that dies in the hospital right at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you made it real good throughout most of the film.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. That's so good to know.
Yeah,
I feel like
you just have a lot of perseverance and determination, whereas I come from a long line of quitters.
If my family legacy is anything, it's that we'll kind of just keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
Proud of you for that.
You know, we really could have gived up a few generations ago, even this generation, you know? But we've just decided, if we just do the next thing, maybe it'll work out for us.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas like, as I think I've said to you many times throughout my life, I hate being challenged. I hate that. I hate people who challenge me. I hate situations that challenge me. I love my comfort zone. Don't pull me out of my comfort zone.
We're so different sometimes.
We really are. And yet, you know.
Do you believe in love after love? Do you believe it? I don't know the rest of the lyrics. I really don't think
it's strong enough now.
Yeah.
No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through.
That's it.
There's no talking to you. I'm so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe it. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the only one. Oh,
we
do
can't
you believe in love after love?
Talk about how other movies have full song sequences and then just do a full song in our own podcast.
I really don't think
I don't know if this is good audio. It's just us singing it worse.
Worse? You think I'm a worse singer than Cher?
Yes.
That hurts.
It shouldn't.
She may have like 70 years in the industry, but you know, I went to choir in year 6.
I didn't.
I was an alto. I was the only girl that was an alto.
Aww. My mum went to choir for a bit, and she was a bass, which very much surprised her because you've heard her sing. She's not really a bass.
Nah. But I think she is an alto more than a soprano.
Yeah.
She's got the husky voice.
Yeah, she does have a bit of a husky voice.
All the other girls were like, ooh, and I was like, they all had boyfriends.
No, you're right. You are a better singer than Cher. Well, wait, they all had boyfriends and you didn't, so you're like Eve in the movie who gets punished for not having a boyfriend.
Oh my God, Eve was such a tragic character.
Yeah. We're kind of led to believe that she's Agnes. But then she's just beheaded.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Turns out that the girls were kind of just mean to Agnes and then Eve just died. Sorry. Turns out the girls were mean to Eve. And then you as a viewer are like, oh, well, she's Agnes, so she deserves it. And then it turns out she's not Agnes.
Yeah.
And you're like, so they were all just really mean to one of the girls in their house.
Yeah, it means when she says to them, you're like my family now, she really meant it.
Fun fact about the girl that plays Eve.
Yeah.
The ugly duckling sorority sister, Eve, was played by Kathleen Cole, who was a supermodel at the time.
I fucking
You could
knew
tell
it.
because she was like tall and had like a really sculpted face. All they did was throw thick glasses on her and they
Yeah.
were like, she's ugly. Aw, she's ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me every morning. I wake up and I'm glowing and then I put on my glasses for the day and it's like, aw.
See, I have the opposite. I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh. And then I put on my fucking tortoiseshell glasses and I'm like, aw, she's less ugly.
I love that you think that because that's not how glasses work. They don't make you less or more ugly.
That's true. But
They
I
don't. They're a cool accessory to make you feel like you're like complete for the day or ready for the day. They also help you see things, I believe. But they don't make or break your look. Also, it was weird seeing Lacey, I think her name's Lacey Chabert, the Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls, plays one of the sorority girls. And jumping the shark a bit on my trivia.
It's not really what Jumpy the Shark means.
It's not. I meant jumping the gun.
Right.
As soon as I said it, I was like, that's not what I meant to say. Jumping the gun on my trivia here, Amanda Seyfried also auditioned for a role in the film. She wanted to play the main character, and they were like, we can't have two mean girls playing. That's just too weird, and it's been too soon. It's too soon.
Yeah, it would have been too soon is the thing.
So fun fact about Lacey Chabert, by the way, which is unrelated. She's done like 18 Hallmark movies. She loves Hallmark movies.
That sounds about right.
Right? She's like the perfect Hallmark lead, but she was like, I love Hallmark. They've done a lot of stuff for me and they have a really good message and moral behind them.
Oh.
Yeah, made me like her less.
Well, I don't feel the need to like her as a person at all, personally.
Yeah, I think that Gretchen Wieners is really embedded upon millennials as like a real...
Funny character?
Yeah, like an important character. Everyone remembers the name Gretchen Wieners, so it kind of does suck to know that Lacey Chabert isn't that cool in real life.
She's part of the pop culture canon, that's for sure.
She really is.
Yeah, also the whole sorority part of it, I know it's like a staple, I guess because of the original Black Christmas, of like we have sorority girls in slasher movies because they're morally awful, because they're young women who want to, I don't know, go off and have sex with people and they're seen as awful because of that. But it becoming like a theme of sisterhood throughout the movie was very odd.
Yeah.
It's like, you wouldn't understand. You don't have a sister. And then she's like, I do. And she's referring to her. Also, I don't get how sororities
There's
work.
a vain attempt at the theme being around sisters. It's just that there's actually no message. It's just saying that the theme is sisters. It's like the theme being war because sisters occur in the film.
You're absolutely right. It reminds me of every conversation I've had with one of my students where I'm like, so what's this movie about?
Revenge.
Revenge.
Yeah, but what about it?
Yeah.
What are you saying about revenge? You're saying revenge is... Even just saying revenge is bad. That's a strong thematic statement.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly. That's a lot of things the theme is revenge.
Your theme can't be about sex. It has to be like intimacy is better than sex.
Yeah.
That's a theme.
It's got to be like a hypothesis that you're trying to prove
and
with your movie.
It's also definitely not a question either. It's not, can good conquer evil? That's not a theme.
Yeah.
It's good can conquer evil, and you show it through your film.
It's a question for the duration of a movie that should be answered by the end of it.
Yes.
Right?
So at the end of the film, they really answered that sisters.
Sororities are like sisters.
And Lee had a sister who died.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
I don't understand how sororities and fraternities work. I don't get it. I mean, it's so far removed from how Australian universities work.
I have a very limited understanding of it as well.
They also seem to always live there. Why do they live there? If I had a friend who went to University of Sydney and they were like, oh yeah, I live there, I'd be like, that's so weird. Why don't you live in a house?
A lot of people move out of their hometown to go to university in America, to college. Right. So they need somewhere to stay. So it's essentially like a dorm room, but they split it into genders because apparently young people can't be trusted and shouldn't have sex.
Well, I guess
it's a very archaic thing as well. There's a lot of tradition around it.
We did that in Australia where it's just they're not part of the university. It's just a share house.
But really, a sorority seems to be just a share house of university students that all live together. And then they become sisters. And there's also like, they call things like deltas as well.
Yeah, they seem to all be Greek names.
And also alma mater is a thing that they say in America. What's that?
Oh, that's you're an alma mater of the uni you graduated from.
So like an alumni?
Yeah, sort of. No, your alma mater is the place you went to. You're an alumni of your alma mater.
So your alma mater is your university or your college. Alma mater, alma fata. Here I am at.
Hey, check out alma mater. Yeah, I don't get how they work.
America's weird. And again, very archaic. They have a lot of old traditions that they refuse to just get rid of.
And also they seem to have like, you need to be secretly chosen to be part of a fraternity, and then they like put you through humiliation trials.
Listen, I think we'll need to do some research here and watch Animal House to get a full scope of what the fuck's going on.
Well, yeah, but they won't explain it. They'll be like, we need to get into a fraternity. And I'll just go, why?
Okay.
Why? Why would you want that?
Yeah, double billing of Animal House and Old School.
Why would I humiliate myself in front of other white men for their comfort? That's so weird.
Why would you hang out with white men?
Well, I wouldn't now.
No, you wouldn't. You never should.
No.
So very good questions about the sorority. But essentially, it looks like it's just a share house full of young, attractive women who then get murdered. Also, by the way, just as something to touch on as well, Billy didn't end up being the villain of it. They spent so long setting up Billy as the evil, the villain. And then he didn't end up being the major villain. It was Agnes. It was his sister/daughter that ended up being the main villain. Yeah. And also, just want to touch on, Agnes was played by a guy called Dean Friss.
I fucking knew it.
Who is, she was played by a dude called Dean Friss, and Dean Friss is the camera operator.
What?
For this film. He's a very respected camera operator in Hollywood. He's done a lot of shit.
What?
You can go through his IMDb and he's worked on every TV show and every movie. But he's a camera operator, and they decided to cast him last minute as Agnes. And it just really feels like, thank you for telling me to fucking watch the documentary Disclosure.
Yes.
Because it really points out shit like this that I've never considered before, and it's so subconscious in that they're doing this thing where they're taking a deranged female character and they're putting a masculine face on her to make her look more scary and more like vulgar and disgusting, and it's just so transphobic. It's so transphobic.
It makes me so fucking mad that the default way to villainize a woman is to make her masculine.
Exactly.
Because there is nothing more evil.
All the girls getting murdered are played by like cis white women.
Yeah.
And then the fucking evil female character is played by a man.
Yeah.
And it's meant to look scary.
I hate it. It upsets me. I'm so fucking sick of it. I know it was 2004, but it was
2006.
2006. It's still not acceptable. It's not okay.
No.
I know this is meant to be a podcast of the funnies and the ha-has, but I'm so fucking sick of it, and I hate it so. It makes me so genuinely angry. While watching it, it was another one of the many upsetting things about this movie, but had a much more social context to it.
No, I spent the whole time, as soon as Agnes was revealed, I thought, oh God, oh no, that has left the worst taste in my mouth. And like, again, as you say, that was 2006, but even then it was not acceptable. Just be conscious of the way you're doing, like, how you're treating these characters. And the reason that you think that a male face will be more scary than just a cis female face.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Just think about how harmful that is for young trans people to watch and be like, oh, the villain is a woman that looks like a man.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
It's like you as a young trans person, you literally grow up being like, oh, we're either something that makes Ace Ventura vomit or murders white women. Like, it's so fucking sinister and upsetting.
Trans characters are often depicted as either disgusting or violent and unstable.
Yeah.
And insane for wanting to be trans, for being trans, for not fitting into a gender norm. It's gross. So I really wanted to touch on that because it was just a disgusting part of the film.
I appreciate that you wanted to touch on it. I felt a wave of catharsis getting to be angry about it.
Yeah. And also, this podcast doesn't always have to be the funnies, Michelle, or the ha-has. Just let it go. All right? Just relax on the hoo-has, all right? On the hoo-has, all right?
Just because we want a bit of the
just because you want to giggle. Doesn't mean we
I just want to do a
we're not always going to have a bag of chuckles, all right?
You know what? I really want... You know how like there was Talking Bad and Talking Dead that were like, after the show, they just talk about it? We should have a post-rating descending show called Bag of Chuckles.
Bag of Chuckles.
Just a bag of chuckles.
Do you want to hear some trivia about this terrible, disgusting slasher film?
Normally I say I'd love to hear some trivia, but I don't know if I would, but I will.
Well, just leading on from what we were just talking about, unsurprisingly, this distasteful film had the Weinstein brothers' hands all over it.
Of course it did.
Yeah. Harvey Weinstein was obsessed with this film, and he was
So
making
weird.
a lot of decisions and calls on it, as was Bob. Also, did you know that the Weinstein brothers were estranged from each other?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that makes me like Bob Weinstein more.
Yeah, it does too, because apparently Bob Weinstein is also a piece of shit, really, in his own right.
Okay, well.
He just, he calls his brother, like, wicked and evil. So he does
It's different scale of piece of shit.
Exactly. I feel like Bob is the regular kind of piece of shit, whereas Harvey is, like, out of this world piece of the shit. Like, what I love about Harvey Weinstein's Wikipedia page is that you look it up and it's like, he's an American film producer and convicted sex offender. That's the first sentence on his Wikipedia page.
That's it.
Mwah. Amazing. Chef's kisses all around. So yeah, it's a couple, reading into this film, it's a bit tragic because the director Glen Morgan loved the original and really did want to do a good job.
Oh, that is
but the
sad.
Weinstein brothers really interfered with a lot of things. This is a piece of trivia about the director Glen Morgan. After the box office failure of Willard, Glen Morgan stated that if this film were to bomb, it would be the end of his directing career. This film would be a critical and financial failure, grossing only $21 million against a $9 million budget, and receiving an abysmal 14% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This unfortunately proved his fears correct because, except for a few episodes of the newer seasons of The X-Files, he has not directed a film since.
That is honestly one of my biggest fears for my career. It's not never getting to the point of directing features. It is getting to that point and then just something happens. A producer takes a bad liking. There's studio interference. It just doesn't work. And then you just never work again.
Glen Morgan has reportedly disowned this film.
That makes sense.
In response to the question on whether or not he was happy with the results, Morgan said, "No way," and it's schizophrenic because Bob Weinstein came in and urinated all over it. He said, "Really, there was a time where torture porn was the hot thing. You know, I became friends with Bob Clark. You can throw that movie into one of your first questions. I loved that movie. And also Christmas Story, and I learned a lot from Bob and had his blessing, and we were trying to make a version that he didn't get to deal with the background of the killers and stuff like that." Glen Morgan speaks weirdly. When Bob Weinstein came in and saw that, he was like, "We need to drag Michelle Trachtenberg down the hall by her eyeballs." Because apparently that was a thing in the original script where they had to drag a character by her eyeballs down the hall. And I was like, oh, Lord. And I talked to my agent and lawyer and Kristen about it. It was humiliating. It was horrible. I tried to stay and protect the cast and crew, friends of mine, and ended up taking it all on the chin. And I think he actually genuinely did protect the cast and crew, because if he didn't, I have a feeling a lot of the girls would have had a lot more nude scenes. They would have been more sexualized. It could have been a lot more rapey.
Given that it was a bad slasher about sororities, I was surprised at how little sexualization there was. There was that one weird peeping nude scene
in the shower.
Yeah.
But that was it, which was good. Also, as I told you, Dean Friss was the camera operator on the movie, but apparently in the breaks, he would entertain the cast and crew by playing the cello.
What?
Which I find is wild, because can you imagine heading off to your day at work and you're packing your cello with you, your enormous cello?
To simultaneously operate the camera and be a weird transphobic allegory? That's so odd.
Yeah. I feel bad. I don't think Dean Friss is a bad person. I think
he's a very specific person.
Very specific. And this is actually another touching on the same thing. The character of Agnes Lenz is supposed to have an intentional androgynous appearance. While her physical build and face are masculine, her lips, nose, and eyes are feminine. This was to add to the ambiguity of the character. What? Nonsense bullshit. What? Don't do that shit. Stop it. And then the last piece of trivia here, and I thought this was pretty cool. This was the last movie with the score composed by Shirley Walker. Mm-hmm. Shirley Walker, do you remember in the credits when we saw it just said goodbye, Shirley?
Yes. It was weird in the corner.
It's super weird. That is not how you do an in memoriam, just saying bye when the credit comes up. Shirley Walker was one of the first and only for a very long time female films composers, and she made a lot of incredibly successful scores, which is super cool. And I just thought that was really sick. She was like a real bad bitch, and she was revered as like a feminist icon within Hollywood for that reason, which is cool. It's a shame that her last credit was Black Christmas 2006.
It is a shame.
Do you want to hear some reviews?
I would love to hear some reviews. So
as a general overview, the film holds a 14% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This is based on 62 reviews. The critical consensus reads, a gratuitous remake of the 1974 slasher pumps out the gore and blood with zero creativity, humor, or visual flair. Here's a review from Scott Tobias from the AV Club.
I know him.
Yeah. He says, it's just another witless trip to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
True.
Yep.
Here is a review from Kat Brown from Empire Magazine. Bad film fans will think Christmas has come early. Everyone else should ask for their receipt back. Sam Adams from the Los Angeles Times said, like an ugly tie or a pair of slipper socks, Black Christmas is destined to be forgotten the instant it's unwrapped, gathering dust until the season rolls around again.
See, I wish I could forget it. That's my problem.
And as always, I have a positive review from IMDb. This is a 10 out of 10 review. The subject of it is fun movie, and it was left by XOX Cursed XOX.
Okay.
Yes, I know what you're thinking. A slasher film about a bunch of girls being chased by a killer on Christmas sounds chezzy. Well, is chezzy. And many other things. It's funny and scary. The dark humor in the film was enjoyable, and the scaries and killings were pretty good. Yes, this movie does have its moments where you say to yourself, okay. But hey, it's a horror film. Watch. Do you expect it? The acting in the film was pretty good, except the main girl. I'm not saying she can't act. I've seen her in other films, and her acting was fine. But in this movie, it wasn't very good. Well, if you have an free time or just want to go see a fun, scary movie with some cheesy moments, go see this. But like I said early, if you're expect greatest, go see another film. 10 out of 10.
What? My favorite thing forever and all time is 10 out of 10 reviews that also pick apart flaws.
I think your favorite was it was like 10 out of 10. And then the first line was, the ending was inadequate. Also, I'll just say the girl that played the lead in this, the girl that played Kelly, was played by Katie Cassidy, who is David Cassidy's daughter.
Oh, yeah. That's so weird.
I know.
She was... What is it with a lot of these horror movies where the lead character is the least interesting character?
100%.
She has zero personality.
I was hoping it would end up being Lee, the sister, coming in for some reason, even though we didn't follow her the whole time. I was really hoping it would be her because she was the coolest. She was a bad bitch.
She was.
She was like Yennefer, but a person.
She was. She basically kicks down the door and is like, all right, fuckers, where's my sister?
Exactly. It was so hot. She wore that big black coat the whole time.
Yeah.
But that was Black Christmas. It sucked. It was slightly transphobic. It was a sad time.
Also, by the way, I have a particular thing when movies are like trying to reinforce bloodlines. It's why I really love Last Jedi versus kind of what they did in Rise of Skywalker. Like, it kind of implies, is Agnes evil just because Billy is inherently evil? Also, Billy only seems evil because of his trauma, which is also its own weird statement to make. But like, why is she killing people? For a while I was like, what's the whole obsession with eyes? And then I realized 20 minutes after it ended, oh, it's because it's her and she had her eye taken out by Billy. But why is she? Yeah, it feels like the implication is that she's also a killer because her dad brother is also a killer.
I don't know.
Okay. I don't like it when movies focus on like, oh, they're evil or good because they're related to someone who is evil or good. That's Nazi shit. Hate that.
I get that. I get that.
I just wanted to interject that before we get to our own ratings. What was your rating?
My rating was a solid 2 out of 10.
I love solid 2.
Yeah, a solid 2. Which is what I will soon be passing after we finish this podcast. Mainly just because it was like, there were things that they did right. There was a couple bits where I was like, oh, that was smart. Like, that was a cool moment. You could see that some really talented people were part of this.
For sure.
But it just sucked and we don't like horror films. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think my own rating would be similar. It's a competently enough made movie in terms of like the editing and cinematography were adequate. some of the performances were weak, but a lot of them were fine. Like, none of it was bad enough to make me laugh out loud like some of the other movies. But it was also an abhorrent movie that makes me feel upset for having watched it and participated in it. Now that I know the Weinsteins were involved in like really changing it, I feel very solid in my already existing conclusion that it felt like evil people made it. It's a nihilistic movie that stands for nothing other than killing people.
I think evil people made it, and a very well-intentioned director got stuck in the middle of it.
Yes. I want to publicly rehabilitate Glen Morgan. He deserves another chance.
So you've challenged Gregory Plotkin to a fight, and we're going to try and rehabilitate Glen Morgan. Okay, great.
I'm okay with that.
And we're defending Brendan Fraser as well. That's our 3 objectives in this podcast.
Outside of
Gregory, we know you're out there, and we know you're listening.
I'm coming for you, Gregory.
We're all coming for you, Gregory.
We're going to get you, Gregory.
Eat you, Gregory.
Gregory.
Gregory. Knock, knock.
Point being, whilst it was probably better made than some of the other things we've watched, I hated it on a more aggressive, visceral way. So I'm probably going to tie it with Paranormal Activity 4 with a 1.8, which is my lowest score.
Nice.
Hate it. Bad movie.
Yeah.
Never want to think about it again.
Fair.
Yeah.
Just think about Eurotrip.
Yeah.
Think about Vinnie Jones yelling at people from his Manchester United London tour bus.
Yeah. Scotty doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah, that's good shit.
So don't tell Scotty. Here's my follow-up to Believe by Cher. Fiona says she's out shopping. Get comfy, because she's on her knees and I'm not stopping.
You can't do this.
Because Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know.
This can't be what the podcast
So
is.
don't tell Scotty. Well, that was Black Christmas 2006. What are we doing next week?
Next week, we are watching 2001 comedy Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, fuck yes! Fuck yes! Oh, I loved that movie as a kid. Oh, I'm so excited.
Be prepared for it to not hold up.
Hey, hey, hey. That is a common theme in
Hey.
this podcast.